Hi, welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club. Thank you for listening again. As you know, in these podcasts, I just take you with me into what my life is like as a digital nomad. And for the past couple months, I've talked a lot about some practical things, some more personal things, kind of the emotional side of being a digital nomad, which just means that you travel and work at the same time and work online. And some weeks I feel like the idea just comes to me very quickly and I know immediately what I want to talk about. Other weeks it's a bit harder. And actually this week was a bit tougher. Like I kept thinking, okay, what do I want to talk about this week? Because of course I always give a bit of a personal update about what I'm doing. But then also a bit of reflection because I, of course, want to share what this lifestyle is really like, the good parts, bad parts, just to give a realistic idea of what it's like to be a digital nomad. But today, I think I also want to go a bit more into maybe not just a digital nomad, but more entrepreneur side. Or maybe not even entrepreneur, but just someone who has always had a lot of projects and has a hard time saying no to something, and kind of the overwhelm that can happen. And I think that also happens quicker if you're then also a digital nomad, because then traveling is just added to it. But that's what I want to talk about this week, kind of how to manage that, how I've dealt with it, how I've not dealt with it, how I notice it also in my day to day. Because I think a lot of people struggle with that they just take too much on. And that is frustrating, I would say. But first, and again, I also wanted to say thank you for listening. If you do enjoy my podcast, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share it also with others who are thinking of becoming a digital nomad. I got a lot of really, really nice feedback of people who say that it's good to hear not just like the nice, beautiful side of this lifestyle, because it's really not that glamorous most of the time. I think I also shared a picture last week. I mean, my life isn't that glamorous at all. Yes, I travel, but it's not fancy. It's not that glamorous. So if you enjoy it, if you think anyone else might benefit from listening to my experience in this lifestyle and my tips, then please share it with them. That would be really great. So first, small personal update. As you can see, I'm still in the same place. I am in a really beautiful hotel restaurant in the south of Italy, in Ostuni. And I'm here on a work exchange. So last week when I recorded my podcast, I think it was the first day. Now I've done a whole week. And I think that's also why I thought kind of the overwhelm and taking on so many things would be a good topic for this week's podcast, because it has been a lot. And I think it's the same with that work exchange that I did in Poland a couple months ago. But now, because I know this is for the next couple of weeks, it feels a bit more intense. But yeah, I'm still here. First week was really nice. Everyone here is super friendly. I've got a really nice small room. The other volunteers are really nice. I've just had a really, really good week. Every day I work a couple hours. Either I do a little short 2-3 hour morning shift and then an afternoon shift, or only the afternoon, depending on what they need. Today I did a morning shift, and later I'm going to do an afternoon shift. And what else? Last weekend, the Italian came to visit me. If you've listened and to the latest podcast episodes, you'll know that I have been dating a guy from Italy, which has been going pretty well, I would say. It's been very nice. We're taking it very, very slow. But I'm lucky I got this job and that he lives semi-close by and is willing to drive all this way to come and visit. So that was really nice. He was here for the weekend. We went around and explored some more of South Italy. If you want more regular updates on this, then definitely follow me on Instagram. That's where I share all of the posts on the or stories, about the trips that I did and how it was, and more a bit regular, shorter updates. But yeah, it was a really good weekend, which was also definitely necessary because the week was so busy. It was a lot. I think I felt very, very tired, especially yesterday. Today's already a lot better, but I'm again late in recording just because yesterday was a rough day. So today's a bit better. Anyway, yeah, back to the topic I wanted to talk about, because it's been getting cold here, which is why I've got AC on now, or the heating, which is crazy. I don't like it. I'm not made for cold weather. I'm also not made for hot weather, though, because I am still Dutch, and we do very well right in the middle. Below 15, too cold. Above 25 degrees, too hot. We're very spoiled and not used to anything, I think. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. But now it's too cold. It's getting too cold, and I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. Anyway, that was my rant about the weather. I've only got 5 more weeks here, and then I'm going to the Netherlands, where it's going to be even colder. So I'm not looking forward to that. But like I said, last week was a lot. Doing work exchange and working, I definitely underestimated that a little bit. I work 5 days a week for the hotel restaurant, 5 hours a day, which, no, it's not that much. But next to that, of course, I also still have my actual job that I have to do as a brand designer. And I don't know if anyone else has this, but I've always struggled with it, that if I have plans and I have to go somewhere and I know that, I find it very hard to do anything else before. So I've always worked in hotels and restaurants. That's also why I got hired here, because I think I have some experience. But if I had an appointment, let's say at 5, or I had to start working at 6, then the whole day I would struggle to do anything, because all I was focused on was, but at 5 or 6, I have to go and work, or I have an appointment. And I still have that a little bit. So even now, I know, okay, at 5, 6, I have to do my second shift for today. And then the rest of the day, I find it tough to work and focus, which is stupid, because I still have a whole day to work, but somehow I don't end up doing it. So I definitely underestimated that. That's a bit of a difficult match. But I am really enjoying doing some different work, because of course I work behind my laptop all day by myself. And then it's a nice change now to go from just working completely digital and completely online to now suddenly working with people again, in hospitality, serving breakfast, lunch, whatever it is, helping out the reception. It's a really nice change, but it has been a bit difficult to mix. My schedule is, of course, also not completely mine. If they need me, then and if I can, I try and go and work. And there's a bit more distraction, I think I would say. And I'll be fine for the next couple of weeks. It'll be nice, but it is also a lot. And the more I think about it, the more I'm if I wish I had less to do. But then I also know from years of doing this that I don't think I've ever not had a project. I've always somehow managed to come up, or to attract, or say yes to not one, but multiple projects. So I think a year ago, I was in the same situation. I was building my business, but then I was also learning Spanish. I was doing a course on something else. Then I was at the same time launching another business with some friends. And all of that piles up, right? And I'm now a year later, and I'm still doing that. So I've still got my business. I still am doing that same business that I started with friends. I'm still trying to learn Spanish, although I haven't actually opened that course. I'm just doing my Duolingo here and there. But still, that's still in the back of my head. I still know I want to do that course. I want to get better at Spanish. Then I have another course that I'm doing that I need to put in a bit of effort for every week. And now I'm also doing that work exchange. And I think also the thing is with, of course, my work, I have multiple clients. So it's not one thing that I can do and then be done for the day. That just piles up because every client, they might call me or email me and they have a new project that they want me to work on, or new work that they need, or they need something redesigned, changed, you name it. And then it's just an added to do item on the list on top of everything else. And I'm not losing the overview as quickly because I know exactly what I need to do. It's just that my to-do list doesn't ever seem to get any shorter. But then on the other hand, the problem is that when then someone does ask me if I can do something, I'll say yes. Because I also believe in continuing to kind of grow and learn and taking on new opportunities when they come. Which means I keep myself very busy. I mean, even this summer, I didn't have that much work. So then what happened? I launched a podcast. I got started on social media. And now suddenly I have work for that to do as well. Yeah, that's something else I forgot. I still have to worry about my podcast and content, and which, yes, I enjoy doing. But it's another project that I did to myself, that I launched. And now I have to maintain, even though I like it a lot. And I'm, I think that's a problem of not just digital nomads, but people who either, it's not just motivation. I think it's just like this, you just want a lot or want to experience a lot, want to try everything, and you're inspired or you're creative and you just want to experience and do as much as you can. Like I can be very lazy, but I can also be super motivated and do everything and try it. And then what you get is you just get this overwhelm where it's just so much to do and there's always more to do. And I think that's a bit of the problem. I think that's anyway, when you're self-employed, there's always more to do and there's always something you could be working on, which means relaxing is difficult. You're, afraid of missing out on opportunities. You consistently want to improve and do more. And if you say no, then, you're worried that you might fall behind. And I know it's almost like an addiction. I mean, I remember an ex of mine, not a very nice one. He, at some point, I told him about a project I was working on, which was very new then. And he felt like I had, I don't know, on purpose not told him. I don't know. His ego is very fragile. So anyway, he then looked at me and said, "Oh, so now you have another project. See, that's why you don't ever finish anything." And I was quite hurt by that. I have been told that from, I think, another ex as well. So I'm not saying they're wrong. I do have always started many projects and not always seen them through, because I find the beginning part most exciting, to build it, to create it. And as soon as it's created and built and not immediately successful, I can sometimes lose my motivation or lose my focus and I go towards something else, which, yes, is also because I think I just crave a bit of that dopamine, which you can argue if that is a good thing or not. If it just means that I like many things and I want to keep, exploring, or if that just means I give up quickly. I don't know. Feel free to tell me what you think about this, because I am still a bit in two minds. On one hand, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I give up too easily and I should just stick to one thing. On the other hand, I'm also very happy that I have tried so many things because I learned something from all of them. And there's lots of things that I haven't quit on, like my business. Been 5 years, haven't quit on that. I've done this podcast and my social media now for, what is it? Almost 6 months. Like, I'm very, happy and proud of that. Of course, I have to keep going and everything kind of comes in waves in terms of motivation and everything. But yeah, it might be a bit of those a couple of those things, you know, and then just saying no to someone is difficult. If they need me and they need me to do some work, I really want to help and say yes and do it. What all of that also means, though, is again, half finishing everything. There, I think, are also things I gave up on just because I was overwhelmed, not just lost motivation, but felt like it's too much. And it's hard to then focus on that one thing when you've got 3 other things that you're trying to finish. It can cause your motivation and your creativity to drop. Because something, of course, in my work, what I'm noticing now is in most of my projects and most of my work, I have to be creative. So that is for content for clients, visuals that I make, websites that I design, logos, branding, social media. All of that requires a lot of creativity. And I feel like creativity is not something you can just magically have. You know, sometimes it just comes to you. Sometimes you have to see something or be inspired or talk about it, and then that creativity will come to you. But it's very hard to force it and to just sit down and be creative. Like, at least for me, that doesn't always work. You can train yourself to get there quicker, and of course, there's ways to get inspired, but in general, your creativity might drop. And then it's hard to also actually enjoy where you are when you're traveling or what you're doing, just because you're still thinking and worrying about everything else that you need to do. And I'm sure so many of you can relate to this, because life is so busy and so hectic, and there's so many different things besides just work that you have to worry about. And then on top of that comes work, but also personal goals and hobbies and family and things that you have to do and want to achieve, and it's just a lot. And it is, I think, also for me, very easy to lose focus on the things that would actually make a difference. So something I see that I've done often in my business, that I still do, and sometimes I let myself, because I think that's important too, but it's sometimes hard to lose focus, or sorry, it's hard to keep focused on the things that actually make a difference. And what I mean with that is, I mean, not long ago, I spent, hours working on the layout of something like an email, or I was worried about how, I think something, I don't know, something about Pinterest that I wanted to fix. And sure, or an email, sure, it was important, but it doesn't actually make a difference. And I could have also used those hours to actually work on something that would have made more of a difference and actually moved me forward more. Which again, sometimes you just have to also focus and put your creativity somewhere maybe it's not that important, just because all those small things together will also make a difference. And sometimes you just need a bit of that like dopamine or happiness that you get from finishing a task, regardless of how small. It does, but it can kind of slow you down in your process or in your progress mainly. And this has always been an issue for me. And again, being a digital nomad then just doesn't help, because then next to having to do all of that, you're also traveling, meeting a lot of new people. And last week, I think, just was peak. I, of course, the whole week just got so much information about how everything is run here, what is expected from me, how to do literally everything from, the breakfast to the reception to checking people in. And it was just a lot. So here's a couple of things that I was thinking about that could help, which I'm not saying I am doing just yet, but that I should be doing. And I think that's definitely, I love lists. Without lists, and in general, I think I use Notion to keep an overview of everything that I have to do. Without that, I could have never I could have never got anything done, really. So I use all my lists, and I think on that list, every day I do make just one or two bullet points that are the like non-negotiables. Like those things have to get done. Like today, I have to record this podcast and I have to put it live. I have to write the newsletter. I have to create content for a client. I have to work on this branding project I'm working on, etc. But then, of course, I still have my whole list of to-dos that are for a different day. They're just not for today, or maybe they are. If I'm motivated, if I've got time, I'll work on them more. I'm also trying very hard to give myself more time. So when I first started, when clients would ask me, "Hey, how long does it take?" I would give them a very almost too honest estimate. So I would think to myself, okay, well, it'll take me about 4 hours. I've got 4 hours tomorrow, so then I'll tell them it will be done the day after. So I will give myself 3 days to finish a task, even though, I mean, I know now, lots of things can come in between. And even if I do have that time tomorrow, maybe I don't actually have the motivation or the drive or, and then I've already said yes. So I definitely learned from that to give them, don't say 3 days, say 2 weeks. Give yourself that extra time. And I'm trying to do that more and more. Even if I can do it tonight, I'll tell them it'll take a week. Why? Just because. What if I get sick tonight or tomorrow or something happens or I get another project that has priority that I just have to work on first? So give myself more time so that I have got extra room. Of course, you should limit how many things you say yes, which is not something I'm good at. I don't think I've said no to many things. The one thing I have become better at, though, is saying no to things that don't perfectly align. A friend of mine asked me to help her with her branding project for her new business. I said yes. Why? Because that is exactly what I work in. That's exactly what I do and what I, like to do and what I want to get better at and grow in. Plus, it's a very good friend of mine, so of course I want to help. But it's also really directly aligns with what I want to do. Because at the same time, I got a text from someone else saying, hey, would you be interested in doing, I think it was something to do with social media, mainly video. And that's when I was like, okay, that does not exactly align. So I'm going to say no. Yes, it'd be extra work and it'd be extra money, but that doesn't align exactly with what I want to do. So it'd be better if I say no to that instead of yes, and overwhelming myself with a project that might not align perfectly, or that I also just generally don't have time for. And then I'd rather put my time in a branding project that I can use as a portfolio piece that I get more energy from than a project that I would not find as interesting. And I think that also comes down to focusing on your priorities. Like, what is it that you want to focus on? Again, for example, my Spanish course, yes, still a priority, but just less. Right now I'm in Italy. Spanish is not, I don't need it here. Spanish will come again and I'll get back into it. But you also can't expect yourself to do everything all the time. And again, life is already so busy. And that's not to say that I don't want to create all these excuses for myself to not do something, but I also don't want to make it more difficult for myself than I have to. So I'll go back to Spanish, but right now that's not the priority. Right now I have to work here at the hotel restaurant. I have to keep up my business and I have a lot of work in my business. And that just takes priority over learning Spanish because that is more of a fun project or like a hobby almost. So just doesn't have priority. Then when it comes about also traveling, I personally, if I have a travel day, I do not expect myself to work. I think it's unrealistic. If you manage to send out emails and be productive on the travel day, good for you. I don't want to do that to myself. I think traveling in itself is already very stressful. Even if I have a full day of travel, I can kind of guarantee that I won't be very productive the next day. So I schedule this in. I know, okay, Wednesday I'm going traveling. That means Thursday is written off as well. I will not be productive on Thursday. And if I am, great. Extra hours for me to work. Perfect. Less stress for the Friday. But I don't want to assume that I'll be able to work at an airport where there's so much distraction, probably shitty Wi-Fi, maybe your flight's delayed, maybe something happens. It's just, don't bet on that. And also try and travel around your work. I prefer, if I can, that I can travel when I'm not that busy. So if I know, okay, the end of November is going to be very busy, I try not to move and I'll delay going to the next place for a week or two. I can't always do this, but sometimes I can, and then I will try to. If I'm just too busy, I don't move. And of course, then there's the whole conflict about actually taking rest, which I think also comes together with saying no. Say no when you have to, when it doesn't fit your priorities, so that you actually also have time to rest and rest guilt-free, which is still something I'm learning. But I think that's a difficult thing, but a very important thing. So yeah, all that to say that I know it can be very easy to feel very, very overwhelmed with everything that you have to do. And especially, I just think when you become a digital nomad, or not just maybe not digital nomad, but I think self-employed, or if you start your own business, I feel like this happens. I don't think I know anyone who is a freelancer or self-employed or has their own business who then doesn't have 3 or 4 side projects. I think that's just what happens when you are self-motivated and have creativity, or have these ideas, and you have, your own personal goals that you want to achieve. I think that's just what happens. People also come to you and say, oh, but you already do this for your business, so maybe we can do it also for something else. And that's how you just stack on projects, which is great, but it can be difficult and it can be a lot to manage. So yeah, think about all of that. Also, when you do want to become a digital nomad, when you want to start working for yourself, maybe if you're already doing that, I think it's just important to pick your priorities. Say no if something doesn't align fully. Stick to your priorities. Try and manage that well. Because I'm going to try to this week get a lot of my work done that I have to do, like that branding project. I still have 2 websites to finish. Then there's a bit of content I have to make for clients, but also for myself. And the more I can do this week, then the more relaxed the rest of my November will be, which would be amazing because I am tired. I think it's also just the weather. It's getting cold and dark, which means I feel tired all the time. Tired, more sad. Although I think I said last weekend that I wasn't feeling great and I felt super alone and I was a bit depressed. I feel a lot better now. I also got my period, so that made a lot of sense to why I was feeling so depressed last week. Now I feel already a lot better. The joys of being a woman and traveling. But yeah, I am feeling a lot better. So I'm going to try and get a bit more work done so that maybe the rest of November will be a bit more relaxed. Again, because I'm also doing a work exchange. So it's just days have been hectic. What else can I tell you? Probably the Italian's going to visit me again this weekend because it was very, very nice last weekend. And then more work. I don't know. That's the thing about the whole digital nomad lifestyle. When people are like, oh, but you travel the world. Yes. And I also just work a lot. I work a lot. The whole of, what was it? September, October. I was in Matera. I worked a lot. Of course, every weekend I went out and as in exploring. But most of my days really are just about work. and trying to manage my clients and my income and fix everything and fix problems and trying to make all my deadlines work, which is not easy. And also last Friday, I mean, yes, it's the weekend, but last Friday I just sat here in bed, watched a movie, went to bed at 10. It was amazing. Okay. Everything but fancy, but it was amazing. And I think a lot of people have a bit of a warped idea of what digital nomads do. Of course, you've got the side that is very rich, living in amazing countries, in their villas, and flaunting all that on social media. But I think most of us, because I've also met a lot of digital nomads now, our lives are still very basic, not very fancy. Our incomes are not that high. I don't even remember when that was, but not long ago, someone said, "Oh, but you have money, but you're rich." And I was like, "What? I'm definitely not rich. Like my income is nothing special." And of course, again, I'm talking from my own experience as a Dutch, so someone from the Netherlands. But yeah, my life isn't that fancy. I'm not that rich. I don't do much but work, and half the time I'm very stressed about work and about life. So don't let what you see on social media by some of these digital nomads confuse you or demotivate you, because you don't have to be rich to do this lifestyle. Oh, but maybe that's a good topic for another podcast, about how I actually pay for this lifestyle. Because I do think many people think you have to be rich to do this, which you just don't. My income for the last months was awful. I still was able to travel and be a digital nomad. Is it ideal? No, but you can make it work, I think, if you want to, or clearly. But yeah, I think I've rambled on long enough now, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn back on the heating because I'm cold and get back to work. And again, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any specific questions, things that you really want to know, whether they're about digital nomad lifestyle, about traveling, about, making friends, loneliness, personal questions, everything is fine. Just send me a DM on Instagram or leave a comment wherever it is that you're listening or watching. Don't forget to rate and subscribe, because that really helps. Thank you so much. And then I hope to see you again next week. Bye bye.